Congratulations. If you're like me, you just purchased the famous Bose S1 Pro Plus, the new and improved model. Your next question might be, and it should be, which subwoofer should I get? Because I'm a firm believer in the S1 Pro Plus is incredible, high-end, beautiful, smooth Bose mid-range, but you can't expect real low-end performance from a 6.5-inch speaker or an 8-inch speaker or a 10. When you get to 12-inch, you're finally getting there. But yeah, if you want full-range sound, especially if you're listening to tracks, you need a subwoofer. And I put the word need in capital letters. And then on the other side of the coin, if you're a musician like myself, if you're a bass guitarist, even a keyboard player, you know, the low notes of a keyboard, especially electronic keyboards that go down low, the subwoofer will make all the difference in the world. And in my case, I'm a drummer. So I play electronic drums and acoustic drums. So on acoustic drums, I'm especially looking for the kick drum sound. And when you add a subwoofer, it's just night and day. So that's my application. So one thing I want to mention right off the bat is if you buy one of these two subwoofers instead of another brand, eventually down the road, you might purchase the L1 series, the Pro 32, and you'll be all set. You can buy just the column by itself and you'll already have the sub, which matches up with their one cable system, which is really great. It's called the sub-match cable. And when you're using the Pro 32 column, you only need one power cable, and it powers the top column and the sub. So that's one reason I would definitely stick with the Bose sub over another brand sub. Just before I get too far into the video, I don't want to disappoint anybody. There'll be no sound demo, A being these two subs. You really won't be able to tell much difference on the microphones I use or playback through your computer speakers. You really have to listen to these things in person to get a true representation of the sound that you prefer. So if I played some music with low bass, all you're gonna hear is some rumble. You might hear that one sub is louder, but that, you know the sub 2 is gonna be louder. So it's kind of a waste of time. So if you're looking for a sound demo, sorry. I'm not going to give you the measurements. You can look that up online. But obviously, you see the huge form factor difference between the Sub1 and the Sub2. By the way, for the beginners here, the Sub1 is the one to the far left, and the Sub2 is the monster on the far right. So there is a considerable weight difference besides size difference. So the Sub1 is 35.5 pounds. I usually say 36 pounds, rounded up on my reviews. And the Sub2 is 52 pounds. It's definitely noticeable. Now, the Sub2 and the Sub1, they both have a nice handle on top that you see. And it also has a grab handle on bottom that helps you carry them. The Sub1 carries like a big suitcase, I always say, like an airport suitcase, the weight and the size of it. But either sub doesn't have included wheels that some subwoofers now include. But you know the size difference is definitely a factor when you're trying to put it in your vehicle. The Sub1 you can fit a lot easier, obviously, than the Sub2. So after weight, the next consideration I think is the most important when you're considering a subwoofer is the max output. We call that dBs. So the Sub1, the max would be 125 dB. Actually, it's 124.6 if you really want to be technical about it. And the Sub2 is 130 dBs. Again, the actual figure is 129.8. I rounded up to 130. So there is a considerable difference. When you're looking at 5 dB difference, you're talking about two subs. So if you stack and put two Sub1s together, or you collate them, touching them together, they will equal the volume of a single Sub2. and actually they're actually 1 dB louder, which is it's something I just found out recently. But what you won't get is the same low-end performance. So as far as max volume, yes, a lot of people will say, I want to get 2 Sub1s because I can handle that weight and the size in my vehicle, and it'll equal a Sub2, and that is true. So 2 Sub1s will give you plus 6 dB gain when you collate them, which means touching them either stacked together or touching them side by side. What you can't replicate with 2 Sub1s is the low-end performance. So let's talk about that. The low-end figure, the spec, is on the Sub1 40HZ, and that's pretty much standard for this type of sub. The Sub1 is a racetrack driver, they call it, which is pretty much only Bose does, and that's equal basically to a 12-inch driver of other live PA subs. On the other hand, the Sub2 is also a racetrack driver, and that's equaling a 15-inch sub from the other companies. So the difference is Sub1 40HZ at the bottom, the low end, but the Sub2 goes down to 37 hertz or HZ. And that is a very, very low figure when you look at other subs. It's kind of unique to the Sub2. And one of the reasons why I really love it as a drummer, because like I mentioned, the kick drum sound between the Sub2 and the Sub1 is very, very noticeable. Much more realistic when you're playing electronic drums through a Sub2 than a Sub1. So that needs to be pointed out. People will say, oh, I'll just get 2 Sub1s and it'll equal a Sub2. Well, that's not true, because the low-end performance will not change. So 2 Sub1s will still be 40 HZ. So in my case, I will still go for the Sub2 when I'm playing drums, bass guitar, definitely. What else can I tell you about these? That's pretty much wrapping it up. Of course, the most important part for some people is price. Sub1 is $900. Sub2 is $1,300. Again, considerable difference. But you know, if you bought 2 Sub1s, that would be $1,800. That's pretty pricey. But like I said, if you can handle the weight of the Sub2, then buying 2 Sub1s is the way to go. One of the interesting things is both of these subs have a plastic polypropylene, whatever they call it, outer shell. It's very, very robust. I've never scratched them. But then again, they do come with some slip covers. They're very thin, and you might want to get something more heavy duty if you're a gigging musician. But they do come with covers that other companies give you nothing. And so that's why I don't have any scratches. I always use the covers. But what I was getting back to is under the plastic coating is wood. And it's, to be specific, it's birch plywood. I just looked that up today on the internet. You find out new things every day. So, and of course, a wood subwoofer gives different performance than an all plastic sub. So that pretty much wraps it up. One more factor that I want to mention is the way it handles a little speaker like the Sub1 on the speaker pole. Both of these subs, basically, you either put it on a stand, like I have behind the subs there, or you lay them down horizontally. And there's a connection for the pole that you have to buy separately. I don't recommend you buy the Bose pole, by the way. It's pricey, and you can get a very similar pole for almost half the price, and it's just as good. And just as a little heads up, the Bose website says, you know, the pole on the Sub1 or the Sub2 can only handle maximum 15 pounds. Well, guess how many pounds the S1 Pro Plus is? 14.5 pounds. So I think they want you to buy only their top, right? Anyway, so that's one of the weaknesses I find of these subs. I don't really love the look of the subs when they're in the horizontal position. You can check my other videos. I'm not going to show you that right now, but it looks okay. You know, you can turn the Bose logo to make it look better, but I prefer a sub in the vertical position. Kind of looks like a column array, and they don't have a sub pole mount in the vertical position. I really wish that would be something they did in the future, and I wish they had done it before I purchased. many viewers have asked me, what sub should I match up with the S1 Pro or the S1 Pro Plus? And I always have the standard answer is always stick with one of these two Bose subs if you can afford it, because they are pricey. For example, I have reviewed a Fishman sub that's not made anymore. You can check out that video at a much less price, $400 compared to $900 of the Sub1. Doesn't quite perform the same. There's the Behringer B1200. I think it's $350. So that's really the least expensive live PA sub. And then, then you have your JBL 15-inch sub that will match the Sub2. But what's missing, and of course the EV sub, the EV ELX 12-inch sub, I have the performance of the Sub1 and the EV sub it's neck and neck. So the reason I always recommend one of these two, the Bose subs with the S1 Pro Plus, is because it has a special frequency match that Bose sets up where you can press one single button and it's like the L1 setting, and again, I don't want to get too technical, but it matches up with the top. So that's really important in my book, and other manufacturers, you won't have the same quality matching. So stick with one of these two. Okay, let's sum it up. So yeah, it all comes down to weight, in my opinion, because many people can't handle the Sub2. And to be honest with you, many times I leave the Sub2 at home. It's not used as much. The Sub1 is just the way to go because it's so light. It really is the lightest subwoofer that I consider a real subwoofer out there at 34 or something pounds. Really super light and carries really well in the hand. So Sub2, but on the other hand, if I'm in a real gig, playing in front of an audience, especially with drums or bass guitar, I'm always gonna take the Sub2. I'll muscle it. Some of the new players out there will always ask me, are either of these subwoofers battery powered? Because, ideally you wanna match up a battery top, and you don't want to take any kind of external battery source or need AC. But that's not the case here. These are not battery powered. So my workaround is to take an external battery source, and I do have a heads up. The Bose Sub1 does pull some juice. I tried running it on a 300 watt unit, and I was playing at loud volume and some heavy bass tracks, and the sub shut down on me. All of a sudden it had no power. So I guess that was a protection circuit kicking in. So after that incident, I always take this particular unit, and I'm not selling it or anything like that. Actually, I don't even think they make this anymore. They have a newer model out, but it's an EcoFlow Pro. This particular unit is 600 watts, and I think the newer unit is 700 watts. It's about $500 on Amazon. And again, I'm never going to take anything less because of that incident where it shut down on me. The amazing thing is this little unit, it's about 13 or 15 pounds, less than 15 pounds. It not only runs the Sub2 with ease, it has never given me an issue, but it actually runs the whole Pro 32 column. So to me, that's kind of amazing. It runs, a 1,000 watt unit. Did I mention that the Sub2 is 1,000 watts and the Sub1 is 480 watts? Most reviewers will give you a little heads up. Don't go by watts, go by dBs, max dBs that I mentioned. So yeah, getting back to what I was saying, that this 600 watt unit runs the Sub2 and the Pro 32. So to me, that's kind of amazing. But a lot of people do not like to take an external power source because it's just one more thing to forget, lose, get stolen, whatever. Okay, just wanted to mention that. It is important. Here's the slip cover it comes with. Like I said, better than nothing. Before I forget, if you are playing outdoors, outdoor play, since you have no room boundaries, it's very difficult for live PAs. Definitely get the Sub2 over the Sub1 for anything outdoors. And of course, in a large space, a ballroom or something, obviously. Sub2 is the way to go. So in conclusion, inquiring minds want to know, which sub should I get with my new S1 Pro Plus? If I have the money and I don't mind the weight. Which one should I get? Well, I really think the Sub1 is the better match. And my reasoning is as follows. Basically, you want your top to blend with the bass bottom. And I find, and maybe, everybody's ears are different. I find I have to crank the gain way down on the Sub2 to blend properly with the S1 Pro Plus. I'm talking like at 10 o'clock or maybe even 9. I got to turn it way down or else the bass, excuse me, the bass overcomes the top. Just too much. It's not what you want. You want your bass to blend smoothly with the top to sound like one unit. On the other hand, the Sub1, about 11 o'clock is perfect on the gain, maybe 12 max. And so I would recommend if you buy a Sub2 and you're not a bass guitarist and you're not playing hip hop live or whatever, you're not a drummer, then you're going to be wasting your money kind of and your muscles carrying that huge thing around because you have to turn it down to the Sub1 level anyhow to make it blend properly. Interesting enough, my very first video on my channel, which was about 3 years ago now, was I made a video, and I'll put the link down, of two S1 Pros, the originals, with a Sub2. Very popular video, and a lot of people have gone with that setup. But it's not what I would personally recommend when you ask me one-on-one, which sub should I get? Stick with the Sub1. It blends perfectly. It's an incredible match. When you add the Sub1 to the S1 Pro, you have just transformed your speaker from an excellent speaker to many levels above. And I like to say it's a full range solution. Now you have the S1 Pro Plus, which has excellent high-end, beautiful mid-range, and now you add low-end. If you're playing tracks, it almost sounds like a club situation. It's that big of a difference. Okay, so yeah, that's my recommendation. If you have an S1 Pro Plus, you need a subwoofer. Before getting to S1 Pro tops, I always say get the subwoofer first. It's that big of a transformation. This is Bill. Hope you enjoyed. Next time.